Hello. Today we're going to focus on a gentle, nourishing practice. You might want to grab a strap if you have one. If you don't have a strap, a thick shirt or anything that the fabric is more tensile and less stretchy would work for you. So you can go ahead and bring that to some place where you can grab it easily while lying on your back. Coming to your back, the knees can be bent, the soles of the feet can be on the ground. If you'd like to keep the knees pointing up to the sky, if that feels better for your hips, feel free to do that. Or you can open the feet wider apart and let the knees fall gently in towards each other. Hips feel heavy. Low back above the hips lifts up a little bit. There's a small arch there, but the rib cage moves down. Shoulders feel heavy. Neck, again, small arch. It lifts off away from the fat ground, just a small amount. And then with your chin in neutral, the back of the head is heavy. And if you're missing any of these natural curves of the spine, you can play with artificially creating them with your muscles. See how that feels for you. If that doesn't work for you, like any other instruction I give you during the session, just leave it out. Do what works for your body. Right hand can come to the belly, left hand to the heart, or any other hand position that's comfortable for you. Soften or close your eyes and come to the breath. And just feeling the air on the nostrils and your lungs moving with the breath. Your rib cage moving with the breath. Your skin moving with the breath. And just notice if one or both hands are moving with the breath. If you want to, you can play with that. See if you could get one hand to move, then the other, and then both, as long as that doesn't cause stress or strain. But even if neither hand is moving with the breath, that's fine. I just want you to observe how full, deep breathing feels in your body. So let the breath be long, full, and deep. With every exhale, just letting yourself melt into the support of the earth, letting yourself feel held. With every inhale, let the air nourish you, taking what you need. With every exhale, letting go of anything that you're ready to let go of. With every inhale, just stepping fully into the present moment. Breathe. And maybe after just a little while here, you decide that you just want to do a lying meditation, and that's fine. But if you want to stay with me and do the rest of this class, thank you so much. I'm so happy you chose to do that. From here, we'll open our arms into a T position, and then when you're ready, exhale, the knees can go over to the right side. Inhale up to center. Exhale, knees to the left. Inhale up to center. Your feet are as wide apart as your mat, so there's plenty of space between your feet. And we call this windshield wipers. The next time your knees are over on the right side, feel free to stay here and hold, or you can take the right foot on top of the left knee, feeling a widening sensation through the left lower back. Breathing here. And then unraveling this side, coming back up to center, letting the knees go to the left foot on top of the right knee. Breathing here. If the foot on top of the knee hurts your knee, then uncross. And then inhale, coming up to center. crossing the right ankle over the left knee, making sure you're not bending at the right ankle, but extending through the inner edge of the ankle. From here, you can stay here, or you can take the right hand to the right thigh, not so much the knee joint, but the actual belly of the thigh. Gently, gently press the thigh away from you with the hand, but press the thigh back into the hand too for a bit of resistance. Breathing here. And then grabbing your strap or whatever you have as a substitute. If I don't need a long strap, like to double mine up just for easy gripping. And from here, you can lift the left foot up off the ground and take the strap behind the back of the left leg. You can also use your hands, but I want you to make sure you can relax your head and shoulders back down if at all possible, and the strap might give you the ability to do that. So, pulling the left leg in towards you with the strap, but again, resistance. So you're also pressing the left leg back out into the strap, and you're feeling the right thigh gently moving away from you, just like when your hand was on the thigh. Relax the shoulders, head, and neck, and also see if you can feel your hips slightly heavier than the low back right above the hips. Breathing here. Okay, releasing this side, uncrossing the right leg, crossing the left ankle over the right knee, stretching through the inner edge of the ankle. If you would like, left hand to the thigh, gently pressing the left thigh out with the hand, but also pressing the left thigh back into your hand with your left thigh muscle. Breathing here. Feel free to stay there or grabbing the strap or using your hands, lifting the right foot up off the ground, and then from here, taking the strap around the back of the right leg or your hands, pulling the right leg in towards you, pressing the left thigh gently away, relaxing through the head and shoulders. Let with every exhale, your hips feel heavier on the earth. Okay. Releasing the strap, putting the strap over to the side. Lower the feet to the ground. Feet outer hip distance width apart and feet close into your hips. And then again, natural curves of the spine. Hips heavy, low back lifts a little. Shoulders heavy, back of the neck lifts, head heavy. Arms by the sides, palms facing down. And from here, inhale the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, wiggle the shoulders in towards each other. Feel the chest starting to lift up more, but the back of the head still presses down. And then exhale, tilt your hips under. So your tailbone lifts up and the low back presses down. And then inhale, release. And if your low back doesn't arch, tilt the hips back a bit. So you want a small arch in the low back. Exhale, hips tilt under. Inhale, releasing out the hips or tilting them back just a smidge, just enough so the low back lifts off the ground. Not much, just a little. Exhale, tailbone tilts under, hips tilt under. Inhale, release. Now, holding the hips steady, not tilting the hips, but we are going to lift them up. So inhale again, feel the chest lifting up. And then with your next inhale, lift your hips up just an inch or two, and then lower back down. Inhale, lift your hips up an inch or two. Feel the feet nice and even on the ground, inner and outer edges. Exhale, lower back down. As you lift the hips up, feel the hips stretching towards the feet. Feel the chest stretching towards the head. Your spine stretching in opposition. Exhale, lower the hips back down. And as you continue to do this, you can slowly let the hips lift up higher. Breathe in. And the last time we're going to lift and hold. So go ahead, lift your hips up, hold, grabbing the outside edge of the mat, pulling the mat apart with your hands, and using that action to wiggle the shoulders underneath you. Pressing evenly through the feet, stretching the hips towards the feet, stretching the chest towards the chin. Breathe. And make sure your knees are stretching straight forward and not trying to open to the side. And your tailbone is not tucking under. And then exhale, go ahead and release. Bring the hands to the very tops of your thighs where your legs and your hips meet. Press the tops of the thighs away from you. Swing the knees gently from side to side. And then unravel the hips back into center. Left hand can lower to the side. Right hand, you keep pressing into the thigh, but you press the thigh back into your hand so your hips don't start to go slant. The hips are level. And then you can straighten the right leg up towards the sky, pointing and flexing that right foot. And then move your ankle around freely. Breathing here. Releasing that leg. And second side. Left hand to left thigh. Thigh and hand press into each other actively. Hips feel even. And then straightening that left leg up towards the ceiling. And again, pointing and flexing the ankle. And then moving the ankle around freely. Releasing. Hugging the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking from side to side. And then we're going to roll all the way over onto our belly. So just rolling over onto your side. You can scoot yourself back onto your mat on your belly. Rocking the hips once you're on your belly from side to side here. And then once you're here, stretch the hands forward out in front of you. Stretch the legs back behind you. Lengthen. I'm going to turn directions on my mat. I think that will make more sense for you. But you can stay where you are. So I'm just flipping directions because of light. Stretch the arms forward out in front of you. Stretch the legs back behind you. Knees face down. Lengthen through those feet. Lengthen through those arms. Hips are heavy. Low ribs draw in and up. And then keeping both hips heavy on the ground, you can lift your gaze slightly. Knees facing down. Inhale, right leg and left arm lift up just an inch or two. Stretching out away from each other. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, left leg, right arm. Stretching out away. Lower back down. And then go ahead, bring your hands to your head, and gently rock your hips from side to side. Come back to center. Stretch the arms forward. Lengthen the spine. The hips root down. Low ribs draw in. Legs stretch back for that wall behind you. This time we'll take the arms, though, back by the sides. Stretch back through the legs so much that maybe your feet lift up an inch or two. Keep stretching that much through the legs. Lower the feet back down, knees facing down. And then when you're ready, inhale, lift up to the shoulders, maybe head and chest too. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lift up. Holding here, press down through those hips, stretch long through the legs. Again, maybe letting them lift up if that feels better for you, but also seeing how that affects your low back. Lowering them down, rooting down through the hips. Breathe. Exhale, go ahead and release. Rest your head on the hand, rock the hips from side to side. So remember that strap. Grab the strap again. You may want to double it up. If you need more strap, and you might need more strap for the hands to go wider apart, you don't have to double the strap up. Take the strap back behind you. I like to do palms facing down. You might like to do palms facing up. Again, exploring is fine. Pull the strap apart with your hands so your elbows bend some. And then root those hips down again, low ribs draw in and up. Start to float up through the chest. And then either keeping your hands here, which actually feels really good. So let's actually do this for a round. So for a round, keep your elbows bent, hands on the hips, and just feeling the chest stretching forward here. See if you can line your head and neck up. And again, feet might float up or stay down, hips root. Exhale, lower back down. Just resting here for a moment. If you want to, you can relax completely. Turn your head to one side. And then coming back to center, grabbing the strap again, elbows bent, pulling the strap apart with your hands, rooting through the hips, stretching to the legs, floating up through the chest. And then this time, if you would like to, extending the arms straighter. Now, you still want to perhaps keep a micro bend in the elbows. Stretch those legs. They might lift up. Breathe. And then exhale, lowering down, turning the head to the opposite side if that works for your body. And breathe. Making your way into a child's pose. Feel free to stop on your elbows with your hips high, depending on how your knees and your low back feel. Or you can move the hips closer to the heels, let the back round, relaxing and releasing. Inhale, come up to sitting near the front of the mat. Knees bent, soles of the feet on the ground. Plenty of a mat back behind you. Feet can be about hip distance apart. Knees pointing up toward the ceiling. If your feet start to cramp, feel free to flex them and point the toes up to the sky. Hands underneath the thighs. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, round the back. Look at your navel. Inhale, sit up nice and tall, extending. Exhale and round. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale and round. 2 more times. And last time. And this time, if it works for your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae coming onto your back. If that doesn't work for you, just come onto your back however it does. You can adjust once you're on your back. Hug the knees into the chest, gently rocking here. Lower the soles of the feet to the ground. Straighten the left leg along the ground. Turn your left knee and toes up toward the sky. Press your left heel actively into the ground. Press your left hip actively into the ground. If you need to bend the left knee some to be comfortable, you can do that. But the hip and the heel presses down, and if possible, leg straight. Then keeping this left leg pressing down. Again, you may decide you want to use a strap for this, or you may not. The right knee we're going to keep bent, and we're going to draw that bent right knee in towards us. If this feels ungrounding or unrooting for the shoulders and the head and neck, then you can grab a strap. I also like the strap for the even distribution of pressure when I was rehabbing my knee and getting it to bend again. So when I was trying to get flexion back into my knee joint after an injury, I really like the strap for the even distribution of weight. Breathing here. Relaxing through the back of the head and the shoulders. Okay, go ahead and release. Second side. Right leg straight. Knee and toes up to the sky. Pressing down to the right heel and the hip. Right knee might be bent or straight. And here, both hips are heavy. Low back lifts up. Shoulders are heavy. Neck lifts up. Back of the head heavy. And then you can draw that left leg in towards you with the knee bent. Opening it a bit to the left side instead of center if that feels good for you. Using a strap if you want to. Relax head and shoulders down. Breathe. Release. I'm going to show this round with a little bend in the left knee so you can see that. So left leg straight, or again, if the knee is bent, you're rooting down through the hip and the heel. Your knee is turning up towards the sky. Your toes are flexed and turning to the sky. And from here, we're going to lift the right leg up. You can either grab the back of the leg with your hands or use a strap to grab the back of the leg. Again, trying to come to a place where your shoulders and your neck aren't doing unusual things, that you could relax them down. Then pressing the leg out into the strap or the hand, but using the strap or the hands to pull the leg back in, and straightening that right leg, however much for you that you can keep release to the shoulders. So feel free to move that leg away from you, breathing. Releasing. Second side. Right leg along the ground, knee and toes up to the sky. Both hips pressing down, low back lifting. Toes and knees pointing towards the ceiling. Getting the back of the left thigh. Pressing the thigh and the hands or the strap in towards each other. Relaxing down through the shoulders, neck, and back of the head. And then extending that left leg straighter. And straighter doesn't necessarily mean all the way straight. And you can always give yourself more strap, more room. Pressing your leg out into the strap, especially feel space in that outer left hip as you pull with your hands back in. Breathe. And then go ahead and release. Left leg along the ground, straight or slightly bent. Right foot this time, you'll grab the ball of the foot with the strap. Okay, so you do want up above the arch towards the ball of the foot. And you want to make sure you give yourself enough strap at first. So if possible, you can straighten the right leg all the way. If that's not possible, I'm not worried about the impossible. Do what works for you. And then you can slowly pull this right leg in towards you straight. Now, as you do this, again, make sure your hips feel heavier than the low back. If possible, low back lifting up just a tiny amount, shoulders heavy, neck lifting up. And you're giving yourself enough strap that you can relax the shoulders, back of the head, and neck down. You might take both ends of the strap into the right hand here. Breathing. Left hand can rest on the left hip as a reminder for that hip to root down. Even if that left knee is bent, the hip roots down. Breathe. Keep the left hip heavy. So that left hand on the hip, left butt stays down. As you slowly, with control, open the right leg to the right. And you're only opening the right leg as much as you can keep this left hip heavy. And then coming back to center, take both ends of the strap in your left hand. If it works for your hip, keep your right hip heavy, but cross the right leg over the left, getting a stretch to the outer leg. You can stay here, or if it feels good for your low back to do so, you can lift the right hip up and start to come into a twist. Trying to keep the right shoulder down, back of the head down. I have my hand back behind my head, my right hand. That's my current favorite position for my arm to twist in. But if that's too much for your shoulders, then airplane position for your right arm is a lovely place for it to be too. Come back up to center. You might have to move your hips once you come back up. They may have slid. And then in center, just pulling that right leg back into center. Left hip roots down, left heel roots down. Breathe. And then second side. So lowering the right leg down. And you can press out through the strap the whole time you're lowering that leg down. And then you can slide the left foot into the strap. Feel your hips heavy. Feel the right heel rooting down. Low back lifts up some. And then bringing that left leg up. Stopping with the leg as straight as possible in this case. So just give yourself enough strap to keep that leg fairly straight. Shoulders relax down. Back of head relaxes down. Neck lifts up, but gently the muscles are relaxed. The floor is supporting you. Breathing here. And even as that left leg might move closer in towards you, trying to feel the hips heavier and the low back slightly lifted. And keep your right hip heavy. Slowly, left leg can go to the left. I sometimes like to turn my gaze when I do this too. I turn the gaze away from the direction the leg is falling if I do turn the gaze. So left leg open to the left, I would turn my gaze to the right. Coming back up to center here. Taking the strap in the right hand. Left arm can just come into airplane position. Left shoulder presses down. And then if it doesn't bother your hip, you can keep the left hip heavy and cross the left leg across the right. Breathe. And then if it doesn't bother your low back to come into a twist here, the left shoulder and back of the head stays heavy. The hip might lift up though. Come back to center. Adjust your hips. You can draw that left leg in towards center. Breathe. And then pressing out through the foot to the strap, lowering down. Putting the strap just over to the side. Resting here for a moment, just letting yourself settle. And then we'll do one more round of bridging, so back bending, just like at the beginning of class. Knees are bent, feet outer hip distance width apart, arms by the sides. Wiggle the shoulders underneath you after you've slid them up towards the ears. And then when you're ready, chin neutral, back of the head and shoulders pressed down. Not tilting the hips under or up, and then inhale, just lifting the hips and enter two, chest lifts up two, exhale and lower back down. As you lift the hips of the chest up, they stretch away from each other. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, lower down. So really watching, making sure the hips don't start to tuck under, that the tailbone doesn't start to tuck under. They don't tilt back either. There's just that natural curve of the spine staying in the low back today as you lift up and down. There are other ways to do bridge, but this is what we're doing today. And as you continue to go, the hips can lift up higher and higher. You're also watching and making sure the knees don't open apart, the knees stay stretching straight forward out in front of you. This last time, lift the hips up, however high works for you. Grab the outside edges of the mat. Use that to draw the shoulder blades underneath you. Feel weight even in the inner and outer edges of the feet. Hips and knees stretch forward. Chest stretch back. You might even have to lift your chin a small amount to just keep the natural curve in the neck. Breathe. And then lower the hips down. Hands to the thighs, press the thighs away. Knees gently moving from side to side. Unraveling into center. Right hand, and right thigh press in towards each other, extending the right leg straight. Breathing here. Go ahead, lower that leg down. Left hand, left thigh press in towards each other, extending that leg straighter. Go ahead and release. Press both thighs away from you for a moment, getting length in the low back. And then go ahead, soften, lift your feet up, hold on to your knees, but press those out into your hands. And just making sure you have the natural curves of the back, that the hips feel even and heavy, the low back lifts up a small amount. And then keep the small lift in the low back as you pull the knees in towards you wide. So if your low back starts to round, then press those knees out into your hands and find a nice balanced place. You can stay here, rocking from side to side. Or you can flip the feet up towards the ceiling, keeping this action, holding onto the legs or the feet. Or if the feet are hard for you to grab, but a strap will make that accessible, knees wide apart, put the strap on the bottoms of your feet. You might even start with the legs straighter, but you can let the knees bend and be here too. And then letting go. Bring your feet together. Let your knees open apart. You're not trying to let the knees just drop to the ground. They're relaxing, swaying the hips side to side. But if you feel too much of a stretch in your groin, then you do intentionally lift the knees up. Your feet right now are actively pressing in towards each other, so we're not completely relaxing here. Let your hips unwind into center, still pressing the feet actively in towards each other. Breathe. And then from here, you can just extend the legs out into a Shavasana. Legs nice and wide apart, arms wide and by the sides, palms up. If this position isn't relaxing for you, then do whatever you need to do to be relaxed. So you can bend the knees if your back bothers you. That's a common modification. If feet together and knees apart is someplace you can relax completely in, that's also an option. If you need to come onto your side, someplace that you're going to be able to relax into the support of the earth. And then just let your eyes soften or close. And really let yourself feel held. And with every exhale, just let your muscles relax into that sensation of being held. Let your bones feel heavy. Let your skin feel soft. And just giving yourself the time to release. Into knowing that in this moment, the floor, the earth has you. You don't have to do any work at all. And when you feel that, let go of the breath. So just letting the universe breathe you. Letting those processes happen naturally. And just rest. And to always give yourself as much time as you want to in Shavasana, in this resting position in corpse pose. But when you are ready to come out of it, move slowly. First, just deepen the breath and feel how the breath moves you. Then you can move fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, arms and legs. And coming over onto your side. Pausing there. And with as little effort as possible, making your way to sitting. But stay on your back as long as you want. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here.